No. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Drexel Free Thought Society Weekly Podcast. Sorry for the delayed start, I guess. Yeah, I'm delaying saying delayed start. We're having a wonderfully engrossing conversation. But that aside, let's continue the conversations we were having before. What people can't possibly believe. Are there certain ideas that religious people espouse that, based off their actions, they can't possibly actually believe them? We already have a caller, and he will start talking at his leisure. Welcome.
Hey guys, how's it going?
We hear you loud and clear. We're doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
Good. What's on your mind? Tell us what's on your mind, sir. What's on your mind?
I don't know. You guys were talking about the Kinham and Bill Nye debate, which I had to turn off halfway through because I feel like my brain would turn into mush watching it. But
was that the debate or us talking?
No, the debate. You guys talking was fine. The debate was like...
We were tolerable.
I don't know.
It wasn't even a debate. It was... I can't even explain it.
The best way I've heard to describe it is it was just a brief education.
Yes. It reaffirmed some things I knew about science and the universe from Bill Nye, but he's always done that since I've been 5 years old or whenever the science guy started.
You see, I never actually watched any of it.
I did.
Wait, back then during the Bill Nye versus Beekman's World rivalry.
Yeah, my dad used to think that Beekman's World was bad, so he wouldn't let me watch that one.
I like Beekman's World.
And maybe because it had that weird guy in the mouth suit.
The rat suit, yeah, and that crazy...
You both are old.
Beekman's World was
not that
awesome.
old.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I have no idea what either of you are talking about.
So what were you saying about the debate? Or
That
about
was
our
during
discussion
the
about the
90s?
debate?
Yeah,
What's that?
Chaz, share your comments. What specifics about the debate do you want to talk about? Or do you want to talk about our actual subject?
I'm trying to think of something in our actual subject. Other than, the amount of... Well, I think you touched on it before, of someone that can be gay and be within one religion, especially Christianity. Can they not believe that? And I'm like, I'm not sure. And I'm trying to think of all my times with my various religious discussions back when I was a Christian and now that I'm not. If there's just something... Well, I will say, the whole evolution thing, I will say that I first learned about evolution in 4th grade. And my dad found out I was learning about evolution in 4th grade. So when I came home from school that day, he looked at me and in a very serious tone, he was like, "Yeah, I heard you learn about evolution today." I was like, "Yeah, it was cool." He's all like, "You don't believe that, right? You know that God created the earth and Adam and Eve." And I was like, very hesitantly, "Yes."
Oh man, that's hilarious. So when did he find out that you subscribed more to evolution than creationism?
Sadly, I don't think he ever did, since my dad passed away when I was 16. So I've never had to have that awkward conversation with my parents.
Wow.
But I've always been big into science anyway, even when I did go to church, right? I'm the kid when they asked the question as a 5-year-old, because my dad decided to show me the Miracle of Life video of, they're like, "So what does it mean to be born again?" I was like, "Are you born as a sperm first, and then it goes into the egg, and then you're born to begin?" That was my logic as a 5-year-old.
At least you were taught at a young age, as far as that's concerned, man.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on? I believe it's called. Is it called theological evolution or something like that? Where, people claim that they believe in God and that God created evolution.
Pointless rationalization.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with David on that one. I don't even know where to put in the words. I don't want to say it's BS because I'm agnostic atheist, so I'm not going to claim that no, God didn't do that, right? But
you can claim it to be nonsensical still.
Right,
possible, exactly. But nonsensical.
Technically, I could say I created evolution retroactively, and you can't prove that I didn't.
That's very true.
I mean, I was that guy at one time. because I was raised Christian, in a Baptist family, and then I started learning evolution. And it's funny because when I first heard of evolution, maybe it's because I was under the impression that since the teacher is the leader, I'm supposed to believe in him or whatever. But when they started talking about evolution, I never looked at it as anything wrong. And then I was like, wait a minute, I believe in creation, but I believe in evolution too. I was like, well, maybe God, put all these different processes, like evolution and all this other stuff into play. And then after a while, I started going, wait a second, all right, that kind of doesn't make any sense, and the evolution thing is winning me over here. And I think that's part of the reason why I became, I reverted back to an atheist, because I would assume that I was born one. I don't think I had a concept of a God back then when I was a kid.
Right.
So, that's basically how I looked at, theistic evolution. Yeah, that's what I was looking for, theistic evolution.
I think evolution could be mutually exclusive with being a Christian, and you can believe in that, but that's more like I'm just going to make up excuses to continuously be a Christian while believing it, understanding what science really is. And, I used to do that for a certain point, but even back then I didn't actually understand what evolution was, because I was like most of the people that said, if evolution happened, why are there still monkeys? Not out of conjecture, but out of pure ignorance. I just didn't understand.
I think a lot of people psychologically, instead of immediately thinking, okay, this contradicts what I believe, so I'm going to change my beliefs, they don't like to be inconsistent, so they'll say, this doesn't necessarily contradict my belief, I'm going to apply it to my beliefs. So I think in an effort to stay psychologically consistent, to present an image of yourself that you would prefer, that's where theistic evolution came from, and I think that's why it's becoming more and more popular, because evolution is becoming more and more popular. I remember being surprised when I found out that my college roommate freshman year was I was watching the Colbert Report, and he was, making fun of a creationist, and, I sort of was, I got a little uncomfortable because I don't like it when people mock other people's beliefs, but I asked her, hey, how do you feel about this? And she was like, well, I believe what the Bible says, very literally. And so I think, well, I just think that, especially in higher levels of education, it's rarer to see that, and
the room was almost full last night.
Well, I think that it's more common for people to try to make those two things compatible, at least from my experience.
Yeah, mine too. I don't usually see people going around being like...
Oh, Chaz, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, I said I can agree with that. When I was a kid, I used to say, I don't believe anything I don't see except for God, and I had no idea why I said that. It was... And I remember, older kids were asking me those questions, and that's what I would say. And then I think about on that now, and I'm like, exactly why? And it's because of what my parents had taught, and I went to church every Sunday. And then, as I got older, I just used to ask more questions. I was always that why person.
That was me.
It's there is the notion that the only reason that especially young kids even think that that their religious beliefs are true is solely because their parents told them to, or not even that their parents told them to. It's just that their parents said it. We all know, when you're a kid, people would say wait, you're not allowed to wear your shoes when you go on the couch if you're at a friend's house. It's you can't do that. Wait, I'm at my house. Why can't I do that? Because my mom said you can't.
It's imprinting.
It's imprinting on the kid's brain.
Yeah, and don't, as you are a psychologist major,
yes.
wouldn't you say that the reason why most people believe in, a religion or something like that is if they don't believe in that religion, they're afraid that their parents will reject them because their parents are their only sense of comfort and stability in most circumstances.
I think that as a child, when you're first developing these complex notions of the universe, it's definitely because the people who you trust, the people who are your comfort zone, believe that, and so that's where you're first going to look.
And that's where your own actual self-esteem comes from, is how your parents treat you. So you feel like you must be a certain way because your parents said
I mean,
this.
it's so foundational, definitely, beliefs can be.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's really sad because there's it's really hard to make sense of why these religions even exist anymore, other than really foundational things like that.
Mm-hmm. Duplication.
Just the idea that kids literally cannot make the decisions on their own, so they just take on whatever their parents believe, and it just perpetuates the cycle.
Yeah, that's all it is.
I definitely am thinking that future generations who are taught to think critically will, at younger and younger ages, start to question beliefs. I remember by the time I was in 8th grade, I had already decided that I didn't want to be a part of the Catholic Church. I'd spent a year as a Buddhist, and I had explored multiple Asian religions. So I think that younger and younger kids are going to start not necessarily rebelling if they don't like their parents, but just trying to figure things out the way that they're being taught in schools to think critically.
Yeah, I think scientists.
I think it was largely incidental. Like, I think once we started getting into a situation where parents couldn't control every thought their kids had, that we're now just, we can't be controlled anymore. So people are starting to develop their own ideas based off a much wider array of authority figures.
I actually have a question for you. Do you believe that if you're a parent or something and you're raising a child, you have to have your own value systems that you impose upon your child, or do you believe that you can grow with your child? Because the latter seems to be my understanding of how things really should work, is that you make a mistake, and instead of saying don't do as I say, don't do as I do as I say, it's a better thing to do saying I did something wrong, please, I'm saying I did something wrong, could you grow with me? Could we both understand that this is the right way to grow?
I think that at a certain age that's beneficial, but younger kids definitely need boundaries, they need solid rules, they need things that are concrete that they can latch onto. And I've been asked when I was at Catholic school, well, are you immoral because you're atheist? And it's not that I'm immoral, it's not that I'm a bad person, I just don't need the fear of God to act. So I think that
instead of substantiating a concrete belief that is based off of a religious system, just base it off of something like human or humanistic.
Yes, exactly.
Values.
I think that you should definitely teach your kids concrete values, but they don't necessarily need to be founded in religion.
Yeah. I will definitely say that the majority of my morality came from me learning it from religion, oddly enough, and I don't do it now because I'm scared of God. I just do it because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But beforehand, it was you should be a good person because you want to go to heaven, and you want to be a good person because, you want to be a Christ-like person. And that was the whole thing about being polite, saying please and thank you and sorry and all that, and I still do it. I even still inadvertently don't take the Lord's name in vain, so I say oh my goodness more so than I say oh my God because of that, oddly enough, even though I could care less if someone else does it.
And I think that it's definitely a good place. I think that that's why religion is so popular, because it gives people a very concrete idea of what they need to do, but I think that those values can be taught by example, by parents. I think
by example.
Yeah.
By examples of
magnificent. But by a parental example.
Yeah, that's downtown.
Is it really possible, since we're on this topic, that a Christian can believe in, say, heaven? Because first of all, we would have to define what heaven is, and then once we define it,
according to the Bible, it's the bit that's above the waters of the sky.
Yeah, but what actually is it besides its location?
Is
it the consistent worship of God for eternity?
Being connected to God, Dante.
Actually, I had a very long discussion with a nun about this because, again, I questioned my religion teachers quite respectfully, and this I remember not being so respectful in that I was
recording a radio podcast
saying,
a robot. I'm sorry.
I was talking to my religion teachers, a nun, about do you believe that all go to hell, and what if I went to heaven, like what would it be? And there are definitely different interpretations, but the one that's most consistent is a union with God, whether that be anything that you can envision.
So we're all having sex with God continuously.
but what does that mean? Because then people always throw around this whole thing that God is with you, God is within you. So it's like you're with Him anyway. So if you die, you're with Him.
I think that the idea is that you are with Him in such a way that there's complete peace without any, earthly conflict.
But then what do you do once you're
Chaz,
with
what were you gonna say?
Yeah, Chaz, what would you do if you're with God now? Like, how do you...
I mean, you know what? Have you ever seen that movie What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams?
Oh, I love that movie.
Right? Yeah,
I did like that movie.
Well, when I saw that movie, I was kind of like, it would be cool if heaven was like that, right? But I really don't know, because you're supposed to have eternal life, and you don't know where exactly. Like, do you have a house, or do you not need a house? Right? I mean, do I get to watch SportsCenter all day? Like, I don't know.
I think like the afterlife is one of the most poorly thought out ideas that religion has. If you didn't have the entire universe at your disposal, you would get bored so fast.
And I think that the reason that it's not well thought out, but the reason that it's so inviting is the idea of, life is hard, and you don't want to believe that like this is your entire life is just trying to make money or trying to survive if you were in a different era, but like then to have the idea of I can be free of all of this suffering is very appealing.
And that is exactly what the... I mean, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I see that as the danger. It's like... It's the idea that there are a lot of people who don't do anything with their lives because they think they'll get a better one afterwards.
I much prefer the religions... Oh, sorry. I much prefer the religions that have you enlighten yourself in the here and now and not enlighten yourself through death.
Like, there's the best way of describing this I've ever heard is, especially for Christianity, Christianity does not encourage living your life. It encourages you to wait to die.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
I was given a lot of rules about what I needed to do when I was in Catholic school, so I'm gonna...
That's preparing to die. That's not how to live your life.
It's definitely preparing to die, but it's also how to live your life.
It's like as opposed to living the best life you can or something.
So why can't we just be in heaven by default?
Yeah, it's not like the 7 chakras or something like that. Each one that's your stage of enlightenment.
Like, there's other religions that are very much about living is the important one. Death is either just another journey or it's just flipping the switch and then you start life again.
And in Christianity, I will agree, death is definitely the higher valued.
Which I think...
Death is obsessive.
No, I find that as, especially with the... I was about to say late, but I guess we're not lucky. George Bush.
Which one?
The younger, stupider one.
Okay, Junior.
Anyway, his whole thing was just like... he didn't say it, but some of the commentary about him was, someone who thinks that the world should end should not be the one in charge of the military.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that being atheist is political suicide in comparison.
There are several people in high up offices that are atheists.
I'm basing my idea off of Dawkins.
Also, I'd like to point out...
Dawkins is an American.
Well, he thinks that it's political suicide, so...
Well, true.
Also, I'd like to point out that when Christianity first took hold of the place, where it started, it was in the Western Roman Empire, and it was used as a political tool to keep the people subservient to whatever rule was ruling over them. That's why you see most of the pagan belief systems has been adopted by Christianity. You see, Christmas. Christmas was originally a pagan idea.
Of course.
Easter was originally a pagan idea. It was to accumulate all of the people that were under the aristocracy's power to basically ensure that they kept their place because they would get what they really wanted when they died. But the guy in power knew all of this was BS anyway, and he was just using it. It was more like a tool to make sure that people stayed in place, and they also said that the poor and the meek should inherit the earth. So it made them subservient to the power because they were thinking what happened when they died.
This is a thing where, like, I have jumped on and off of the boat of saying that a lot of modern religious people are just lying and in it for the money.
I would think so, yeah.
I am actually thinking of jumping back off that boat.
Because I got on it?
Yes, because of you. Yeah. No, I think it's more because if you have a lot of, like, the people of the olden times, I think that a lot of them saw Christianity and wanted to believe it, so they did. If you have a situation where someone basically tells you, like, this is how the world actually is, we totally promise, God told us, and it basically will allow you to control the entire world, I'm pretty sure people is going to roll with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the same thing, like Ray Comfort. I think Ray Comfort is so far gone that I don't think it's even possible for him to be faking it anymore.
Like, I think religion is so pervasive. There's like, I guess, I'm black, so in my community, like, if you're not black? Christian, there's something wrong with you. Right? It's just like, enough said. There is something wrong with you. Why don't you believe this? How can you not do this? Blah blah blah.
No, but you know what's creepy about it though? Like you know what's creepy about it?
What's that?
I think it was. I want to say Chris Rock. Cool. I think it was from him.
Chris Rock probably said it. I bet you.
Where it was like, black Christians, you have a very short memory.
Chris Rock. Short-term memory.
What was it? The first ship full of slaves from Africa was called the good ship Jesus.
Yeah.
Someone also put up a meme not too long ago. They was like, how did black people come up with the same belief system as the Klan?
Damn. Wow.
That's well.
That's interesting.
I'm going to start asking that question.
I wouldn't recommend doing that.
Don't do that in the full church at night.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I said Dante's probably the best person to be asking it because he doesn't care what other people think.
I do. It's just that if it's complete nonsense, I will dismiss it.
Gotcha.
Do black people have immunity of other black people?
No, actually, at least in Philadelphia, black people are the main perpetrators and the main victims of crime.
I was kidding, but okay then.
No, dude, like, I did this, like, kind of random note. I was interviewed for this article on do black people get paid less on Airbnb than non-blacks, right? Mm-hmm. And this one guy, the guy who was the interviewer, he was gay, so I felt like he wanted to do this parallel between gays and black people and being discriminated against. And I'm like, I've never been discriminated on this site. I mean, I use business sense and all that to get what I want out of it and how much I want to get paid, right? And I would hope that if there's going to be people who say, no, I don't want to stay with that person because he's this X thing, that really is only the majority instead of majority. So, but I feel like in Philadelphia, when it comes to like dealing with black people and religion, it's always like, I don't get that. I went to a private school where 75% of my classmates were Jewish, and I never got any flack for being Christian. As soon as I go somewhere else and I have this hint of I'm asking questions about Christianity, oh yeah, I'm like ostracized like no one else.
Well, there's a popular notion that it's faith in faith is extremely powerful because hiding behind the veil of faith allows any religion to do anything, and believe in anything. So a lot of religions will openly, like I think this happened a lot in Britain, where they would like openly support each other, specifically because they're just like it would be like me and Dante looking at each other and just saying like, I won't tell if you don't. Like, I won't call you out on your bullshit if you don't call me out on mine.
And it just allows it to perpetuate itself indefinitely.
And that's why it's just, like, and this actually goes with it. It's the whole, like, all religions are great. Everyone should worship whatever they want. Yay! Except when they actually go into their private churches or synagogues or whatever, they'll always be saying, like, actually, they're completely wrong and we're right.
That reminds me, I have a coexist bumper sticker, and I was giving my friend, who's a Jewish person, I was giving him a ride, and he was like, why do you as an atheist have a coexist bumper sticker? And I was like, why wouldn't I? Like, what does that have to, like, just the fact that, you know, as an atheist, like, I can't also say, like, every faith should be respected. It's not just faith to faith. It's, you know, I feel like atheists should be, I mean, Ken Ham is a different story. But in general, I don't think, like, oh, just because you believe in God, like, I'm going to...
There should be options.
I absolutely agree with
I am always of the game of have whatever beliefs you want. Doesn't matter what they are. Keep them to yourself.
But it's interesting. We're kind of doing the same thing that you were saying that other faiths do to each other, in that we're in a podcast, and for the first half of it, we spent ridiculing a faith.
Yes.
Okay, so to clarify, what I mean by keeping it to themselves is don't force it on other people. People don't have to listen to this.
That's true.
And I would never want to bulldoze all the churches and destroy people's beliefs, and I don't. Well, I enjoy destroying people's beliefs, but that's only voluntarily. I would not burst into a church and say, "Debate me! I'm the all-powerful atheist, destroyer of hope."
I'm saying that we tend to be more reactionary than militant. Like when people talk about militant atheists, I was like, how many atheists do you really know that just got up and said, I'm going to wake up and kill Christianity today? I'm not saying that these people don't exist, but most atheists are just chilling until somebody says, yeah, atheists suck. And all of a sudden, the atheist wakes up and goes, okay, I'm going on YouTube. I'm going to call this BS out right now. And then we go back and sit down.
The first half hour of our show were just news stories having to do with, like, what crazy things.
Oh no, I enjoyed our conversation. I'm just saying.
Like, we can enjoyment aside. Like, the idea is that it's reactionary to stuff that is actually happening.
Yeah, it's
like we said before, if everyone was keeping their religious beliefs within their communities or just to themselves, we would have absolutely nothing to talk about.
Well, we did sort of say, you know, people believing that the Grand Canyon was created, like, through the flood, like, that's not necessarily reactionary, because that's like a not a recent news story.
No, but it is reactionary because people try to establish that and replace that nonsense.
People have repeated it.
They try to replace fact with nonsense.
Repeat faith ideas all the time.
Yes, and we react to them.
Yeah, but what I'm and in doing so, you are, and I do it too. But
depends on how you react to it. Well.
I suppose so.
Because if somebody came up to me and said, you know, Dante, the Grand Canyon was made by the Great Flood in 5 minutes, and I would be like, no, you are incorrect, and I want you to support your position. If you can't, I will show you the best answer that we have possible right now. And I will show you evidence for it.
I'm sorry. I'd actually like to agree with your name,
Julie.
Julie, in a way.
They're going to agree with somebody not know their name.
No, because the main point is that if somebody comes up to you and they say some, you know, stuff that you know is wrong, you're gonna have a conversation with them. You're gonna open up discussion. That's the point. The point is not to go around in like a group where everyone believes what everybody else believes and say, hey, we're all right. It's in this entire group, and I think David would agree with me, is that this entire group is to get different perspectives, and I think it's a great idea that we have a different perspective. from this area. That's what this entire group is about.
From this area.
Oh, you mean like the upper left quadrant of this?
Yes.
All right, the upper left quadrant has a different idea than the upper right quadrant.
And that just influences free thought, and that grows to understand what Ravi said the truth is.
And that's what I was telling people yesterday.
Freedom of inquiry, and that's why free thought, free thinking, free speech is essential to growth as a society. I mean, what do you think happened with the internet from 2005 when 4chan was on, all the way up until before Tumblr came on? So many people became atheists because they were presented with the evidence. They were able to find out what the truth is. And then once Tumblr comes in, everything just goes to crap because everyone's offended by everything. We need to stop being offended. We need to start pointing out the issues and things that are offensive and are obviously idiotic, like racism and sexism. We should not be offended by them. We should just say, your belief is stupid. That's it.
Like, to piggyback off whatever just happened.
You still there, Chaz, by the way?
Oh, yeah, I'm still here.
Cool.
Is that, like, I do see that religious belief is one of the most harmful things in the world right now.
I'm not going to argue.
And that's why I dedicate a significant portion of my time responding to religious ideas, because the person I'm talking to will basically never change their mind anyway. But people that are listening to it have changed their mind and have thanked me for it.
Well, I think that
makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
And the spirit conversation we had?
There was a guy that went to our atheist table in the fall, and he came in a loose Christian and left an atheist, and it took 8 minutes. And the reason is because I didn't get all the information in that 8 minutes, but it seemed like he never talked to someone who was not a Christian before.
Present it with...
Or the fact that anybody even questioned...
Prevent it with evidence that otherwise went against his preconceived notions, therefore growing as an individual through intellectual conversation, whether it be a trigger warning or not.
So we are important.
Not a single insult was tossed that time.
That time.
I mean, I grew up in a Catholic family, and I was, when I said that I was an atheist, I was told, you live under my roof, you believe what I believe. And, but again, like I think that it wasn't necessarily talking to people who were fervently arguing like you shouldn't believe this. I think that it was more just witnessing the hypocrisy of the church that swayed me the most.
Oh, but there is tact when it comes to these sort of things.
I feel like a lot of...
Like, we don't attack people here. We only attack ideas.
I think that the tact could be slightly more respectful.
That's fine. Critiquing is welcome.
I attack David all the time.
I think that the way to change minds, to influence people, is to definitely not put them on the defensive. And I think...
No, that's true.
Empathize and educate?
This is a... we're talking amongst ourselves here.
On a podcast.
Well, yeah. But they're free to come in and say whatever they want. Whatever's on their mind.
Let's not put them immediately on the defensive. By saying that their ideas are stupid.
Some sort of legitimacy.
Technically, Dante only said they were stupid in passing.
Alright.
My traditional thing of saying religious beliefs is they are unfounded. And they're silly. And that's just objective.
I feel like we're picking at words.
That's fine. Whatever, man.
I think really the main thing is to just point out why it's logically inconsistent instead of attacking it in a way. I mean,
it's
fine to attack it. It's fine to do that, but you just...
I think
Richard, libertarianism is silly. Do you feel offended?
No, I don't.
There you go.
Y'all would have loved the conversation.
Because I can tell you something otherwise. to tell you why I don't agree with you, but I won't do
exactly.
that.
You just put him on the defensive, and he's not gonna change
No,
his
but
mind on that.
no,
He's just gonna tell you why you're wrong.
I would change my mind.
You would change your mind.
I was a communist 4 years ago.
All right, guys. This is what the gavel's for.
I feel like I've tired my point enough.
No, this is a good point, and it comes up a lot, and it is important to change the way that you talk with somebody, depending on the person.
Like we were doing last night.
No, some people actually really respond to actually having to analyze their own beliefs and why they believe them, being on the defensive. Some people do respond to that.
Being on the defensive automatically makes a person less likely to change their mind, psychologically.
Possibly.
I would agree with that. I would agree most of the time, yeah.
Yeah, I'd
But
agree.
the thing is, if I'm focusing on Richard about libertarianism, Dante could hear something that makes him rethink what he thinks. And this is what I have no illusions of changing like Ken Ham's mind. But if I talk to him, I would be able to show everyone else that's listening why those ideas are not founded and what they actually are in themselves. And this is what I had mentioned like a few minutes ago. There have been people who actually, like, I do a lot of arguing on Facebook. I really shouldn't, but I love it. And sometimes people actually will message me thanking me for doing that because they didn't know how.
I mean,
and this is why
it's a certain way how you talk to certain people. Like last night after the Ravi thing, I had two people who, well, one of them was a biology major. Actually, it was in some of my classes. Another one, I forgot what he was, but they both believed in Christianity. So they were actually both young Earth creationists. And me being, I believe that the universe is much older than, and the Earth is much older than 6,000 years. We had this really long dialogue between us three, and we had disagreed on a lot of things. But one thing I liked about them is that they not once told me I was going to hell. They didn't think I was stupid, or if they did, they didn't state it. And even though we disagreed, we were welcoming these different viewpoints because it was making us think. Because I know I stumped them a few times about the Bible. They were surprised I even knew some of these things about the Bible, and they actually stopped and think. And I was like, I want you to have no shame for not being able to answer my question, because what you are doing right now is you are thinking about what you believe in. And I respect that.
I think that is a fantastic way.
You get 5 applause.
Yeah.
Well done, Dante.
One brownie point.
I think that the way that you talk to them is definitely more of what should happen.
It's like I was talking with a couple people as well. And
I don't want to be overshadowed.
I know. I'm just saying, like, the difference in tact. I was talking with this guy, and I was much more like not. I wouldn't say aggressive, but it was more like I was asking direct questions and making direct analogies to what the person believed and asking them, how do you think this is consistent? Like, the idea is I don't so much say, like, this is just, unless it's a really obvious thing, I don't say it's demonstrably wrong. I just say, like, how is this consistent with this?
I think...
But to add, I then talked about the historicity of Jesus with the pastor guy. And I left him sweating and shaking. And that was because that's a different argument. And that's a different person. He wasn't at all like, when you talk to those sort of people and they'll be like, they'll listen to your point and then they'll say like, okay, and then they continue on, and it's like a tick. Like, they'll say the same exact reactionary phrase because you can tell they weren't even listening.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah,
he was one of those kind of people.
All right, then I suppose there's...
And that's why I was much more assertive, I was much more blunt, and I was much more, you don't have support for this. I recommend that you actually find some. And he was bringing up papers, he's like, here's a list of dates of people that dated the stuff in the Bible. I'm like, how do I have any idea? This is just stuff written on this, it's not cited, what is this? And then I tried making analogies to, like, the resurrection of Jesus, to, like, alien abductions. It's like, you can go right now and talk to, like, 500 people who claim they were abducted by aliens. But you're saying that this group of people 2,000 years ago are more reliable than the people you can actually talk to. This is what you call special pleading. You are ignoring all of my analogies and focusing solely on the thing you want to believe. Why are you doing that? And he's like, this is not special pleading, and then just continued.
I guess theoretically, I like to think that the person that I'm arguing with is logic-based in their ideas and is willing to listen.
Rare in this nation.
No, I actually changed my mind on that.
Really?
Like, I used to love the phrase, you can't argue, you can't logically argue somebody out of a belief that they didn't get into logically. But then I kind of listened to a bunch of people talking about that subject, and I kind of agree with them, I think everyone gets to every conclusion logically. It's just that the basis of that logic is nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
This is why, like, college students, when they're religious, they're really religious. Mm-hmm. Because, honestly, the smarter you are, the better you are at rationalizing stuff.
Well, and that the same thing goes with...
Actually, Chaz.
What Chaz was...
Yeah, Chaz, what are you thinking?
What's that?
What are you thinking? Or are you still listening?
Oh, I'm still listening. I'm just...
Lie.
Lie?
You see, you're espousing something, but you're demonstrating that you don't actually follow it.
Love picking on you, man.
I'm totally confused right now.
I think that we're talking about the methods of arguing and how they change in different situations.
Oh, yeah.
What's your opinion? How should you approach religious people? Or should you at all?
It's rare that I will approach religious people. Right? Maybe if it's someone who's close to me or a friend or something, I will probably just explain why I believe what I believe and have to go beyond the whole, like... Because it all started as the being angry at God because my dad died thing. Right? And then, like, just extrapolating it towards the...
You can't be angry at something you don't think exists.
Right. But it took me... I became that way when I was 16, and it took me until I was 23 to say I was atheist flat out. I had all these other, like I didn't become... And I've never really been... The thing is weird is I've never been a religious person outside of believing in God. Like, I didn't religiously read the Bible. I didn't...
Don't worry, most people don't.
I have.
Right. I went to church, but I wasn't like, praise the Lord, when something good would happen, right? I mean, there were parts of me that I felt were atheist to begin with. Like, it always goes with interactions with my dad. And maybe I would just say to him, like, the things I would keep inside. Like, one time I won this prize from this random arcade I would go to.
Cool.
And then he told me I was blessed, right? And in my mind, the first thing I thought is, what about all the other people who didn't get picked? Are they unblessed? Right?
I love where it's both teams, like both football teams, pray that they're going to win the game.
My favorite analogy.
Which one did God love the most?
My favorite analogy. I do that with war, though.
You know, God loved the Broncos, but he made some mistakes, and the Seahawks won. Not that I'm a football fan, but
he's West Coast, so be careful, man.
It's like I love the idea that I didn't know which sport you're talking about.
In Seattle, Philadelphia.
So, like, I've also noticed that when it comes to people questioning each other, there are two. I would just subscribe to two main methods of questioning. You have people who question with the intent of actually trying to empathize and understand the other position. And you have people who question just to merely have a bone to chew on.
I got called ignorant the other day for being atheist.
What does that mean?
I believe...
That's what I would ask
You
them.
should have like a panic button that just makes me appear. You should
I bring you to my next conversation with this person?
It'll just be like... Click, and then I appear in a cloud of smoke.
Because
someone called the atheist.
Wait, what made them call you ignorant?
Fun fact, he is not even like part of a religious institution. He's deist.
Okay.
How can you even argue with it? How can you argue?
I don't know that I was at a loss. I was literally at a loss, and he called me ignorant because of the fact that I was denying the possibility of something.
Ooh.
I would have said fine because I didn't even have any.
Pick me. All right. To deny or reject something, you need to have a clear definition of what it is. That's a fun counter to the rejection comment.
Yes.
So it's like, until you can fully explain what your God is and all of its characteristics, it's impossible for me to reject it.
Well, how do you argue that to a deist who is unclear to begin with?
Actually, being called ignorant is not even really an insult because
feel like it is.
I mean, saying that you're ignorant because it's like saying, Dante, you're ignorant because you're black.
It's a false. It's a scapegoat.
I know. It's obviously a scapegoat.
It's one of the person.
But it's one of the.
It's the intention behind it.
Yes, it's the intention. Why
so
did I choose
So
black?
he meant to offend you rather than educate you, which goes right back to what I was just saying, except that he made a statement instead of asking.
Alright, Chaz, since we're almost out of time, I'm going to have to let you go. Thank you for joining us. Feel free to call in next week.
You ignorant atheist.
Oh, sticks and stones.
Talk to you later, Chaz. Bye-bye.
Later.
Alright, we are out of time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Please follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook. Follow our website, follow our blogs. We are the Drugs of Free Thought Society. We're awesome and we think about stuff.
Hallelujah.